Massive moment overnight. Today in China, Tesla FSD has officially gone live. We can see it here now, handling typical situation in China, fairly congested, plenty of pedestrians and vehicles at a major intersection. The visualization on screen showing what's going on with the lights, surrounding vehicles and pedestrians. So far, looks pretty good. And the responses so far, early on social media, aka X, overwhelmingly positive. Check out the visualization on screen just here too. I might zoom in for you guys. The absolute clusterfuck of people on scooters, plus pedestrians behind, around, every direction from this vehicle, seeing everything quite clearly and giving way. Now, this is a major milestone for Tesla. More examples on screen. Now, China is the world's largest automotive market. So the opportunity here to sell a software package that's essentially free money, an over-the-air update, almost pure profit, is enormous. And obviously, over the longer term, the Robotaxi market in China will be extremely competitive. And it already is quite competitive. There's lots of companies attempting to solve autonomy. What's remarkable about what we've seen here is how Tesla, having already built a general autonomous solution that knows how to drive on roads on Earth, because driving on roads on Earth is basically the same everywhere, how seamlessly Tesla's been able to launch this software. Remember the early versions of FSD in the United States were real fucking janky, right? You needed to be on the ball, made lots of crazy mistakes, really were putting your life in the hands of the vehicle at that point in time. But the smoothness, the capability of Tesla's very first release of FSD in China, remarkable. The reason is because Tesla hasn't done specialized training specifically in one area with a bunch of guardrails and shortcuts to autonomy with LiDAR, with pre-mapping in HD, just like a human. If anyone watching this video today who's never driven in China were to fly over to China and rent a car, you'd probably be able to figure things out fairly quickly. You'd need a tiny bit of initial training, shall we say, just driving a little bit slow and cautiously, maybe a bit of an understanding of the road rules, the signage, some of the conventions. But this shit doesn't matter where you are on Earth. Rule number 1, don't crash. Rule number 2, that's the only rule. That's pretty much it. Distinct lanes to drive in. The markings are fairly similar globally. Obviously, you need to be able to read certain languages in certain countries. But other than that, this is what happens when you've got a generalized solution. Inevitably, there'll be a slight lag between the capabilities of FSD in the US now versus China now. By the way, notice the emergency vehicle noticed and avoided. The tiny amount of specialized data that Tesla will be collecting locally in China now is going to help this software become increasingly more capable, but it's already phenomenal. This is amazing. Ray for Tesla posted some thoughts from a Chinese blogger's views on FSD in China so far. We'll get to those in a moment. James Dowmer responded to this. Tesla releasing FSD into China without local training is testimony to the strength of the driving model, aka the generalized driving model. He continues, I'm surprised that this is possible today, bravo. Elon Musk explains, we just used publicly available video on the internet of roads and signs in China and used that to train in sim, as in simulation. This really illustrates the power of Tesla's generalized model. All they needed to do to fill in the tiny little gaps about road signs and fill the local nuances in China was just train on a small amount of publicly available video on the internet. Contrast that with the approach of other automotive manufacturers / companies trying to solve autonomy, have to pre-map an entire network of roads, every square inch, literally in high definition ahead of time, cover their vehicles in a bunch of unnecessary sensors, LiDAR, radar, etc., not just optical cameras. It's going to be fun watching this play out. And now this post that Ray shared from the Chinese blogger's view on FSD, they say that it went unexpectedly live today and behaves better than anticipated. Core capabilities are impressive with no strict operational design domain limitations. In other words, it'll drive anywhere basically. Some owners have successfully used it in underground parking lots, set random destinations without issues, and executed U-turns flawlessly, features we've been testing and gradually rolling out. What's remarkable is that this has been achieved without a large-scale test fleet, without an extensive local development team, and possibly even without concentrated local data training. The failures some media outlets predicted, being unusable or causing frequent accidents, simply haven't happened. The driving feels remarkably human-like, and its overall planning capabilities are on par with the best in the field. This suggests that, with vast amounts of training data, even data sourced from the US, and relying solely on a vision-based approach, Tesla's system has developed exceptional transferability. Yeah, exactly. In other words, it's generalized. Just like when a human learns how to drive, doesn't mean they've learned how to drive on their specific street or in their specific city. They know how to drive on Earth in a vehicle. The post continues. That's truly astonishing. In contrast, most of our domestic end-to-end teams tend to overfit results to specific cities. And this, by the way, is giving a lot of folks a false impression about who's actually going to win in the long run. It's giving the false perception that many companies are light years ahead of Tesla, when in fact many of these companies have done a lot of fiddly little things, and in specific circumstances in particular locations have pretty impressive software, but it's extremely brittle, frail. If it moves outside of that nice little sandpit, capabilities don't transfer, and you have a problem. The post continues regarding the so-called competition. A nationwide rollout of end-to-end systems is still some distance away, let alone achieving cross-regional adaptation. And continues, of course, occasional issues like running red lights, going straight from left turn lanes and drifting into the wrong lane still occur. I think they're referring to Tesla's competition in the preceding paragraph, right? Maybe not. But of course, we know that this software is still FSD supervised, not unsupervised. So there will be mistakes, regardless. It continues, I've mentioned before that some abilities are foundational, while others depend on learning specific rules. Even without fully mastering those specific rules yet, Tesla's FSD's fundamental capabilities have already proven themselves. It can be deployed across different regions with virtually no additional software development costs. Whether it can truly master those specific rules now depends on whether Elon Musk is willing to invest and how he chooses to do so, according to the blogger. One of the users did a live stream of their FSD, as we can see, visualization of the vehicle and what it sees versus the actual scenario. I'm just going to scrub through this timeline. There's a lot of stop and start in traffic. This, by the way, a U-turn at a set of lights, absolutely nails it. I presume that's legal to do where that occurred, maybe not, who knows. But as we can see here, so far FSD in China handling the situations like an absolute boss. Super impressive stuff. And from a Tesla investor's point of view, this is free money. And the number of users showing off what FSD can do in China itself is going to cause a number of Tesla owners to end up upgrading. Plus, there's probably a lot of people who don't currently own a Tesla because they weren't able to use this software, whereas other cars in certain cities and regions, as we heard, did have something comparable, will now consider purchasing a Tesla simply to have access to this software. So far, we're seeing many examples of the software handling situations, city driving, traffic, pedestrians, congestion, like an absolute legend. Very promising signs, of course, not surprising in the slightest. On screen now, one of the more challenging situations I've seen so far, pedestrian walking out in front of a vehicle, a little bit of traffic chaos, some horses being led on the road as well, almost look like a little bit of a mini parade or something going on, and a little bit further along the road. More challenges, the remnants of a parade, scooters, bikes, all kinds of shit on the road, total chaos, and once again, Tesla FSD handling things like an absolute fucking boss. And of course, Tesla stock down nearly 10% today. Soy Merritt points out that Tesla is a volatile stock, and it always has been. This is absolutely true. This table below, which we'll look at in a sec, monthly returns on Tesla stock, plus the total yearly returns. Check it out. Year to date, Tesla down. Only 2 other years in the stock's history where it's been down, but in 2022, down 65%. But if we drill down to specific months, it's almost a coin toss. We're going to have green or red. Red, green, red, green, red, green, green, red, green, red. Volatility is par for the course with Tesla stock. And now, a truly tragic announcement. Lucid Motors CEO is, quote, transitioning to an advisor, aka stepping down, aka got shit canned. Let's read. Lucid announced that Peter Rawlinson has transitioned from CEO to strategic technical advisor to chairman of the board. Now, let's just take a moment here. A CEO is a pretty significant role, right? The top fucking G at the company. He's now transitioned. His new role is whispering into somebody's ear who sits on the board. I mean, this is basically not even a role anymore. This is probably the easiest way for them to just totally shit can the guy. Strategic technical advisor to chairman of the board, bro. What the fuck even the fuck is that? It's a fake role. I mean, it's not actually fake, right? It's got a real name. But I think that this is purely for optics, because then it looks like they haven't completely shit canned him. I mean, he's not strategic technical advisor to the new CEO. He's strategic technical advisor to the chairman of the board. And an interim CEO stepping in, which is, again, another suboptimal sign. This isn't the announcement of a new permanent CEO at Lucid. It's an interim CEO. Why do you have an interim CEO? It's because you decided to fire Pete and you don't have a replacement lined up. I mean, hypothetically. This leadership change occurred alongside the release of Lucid's Q4 earnings, which reported a net loss of a mere $397.2 million. Hang on a minute. Oh, on revenues of 200. This $397 million. That sounds a little bit familiar. Sounds a bit familiar. It's a big fucking number. So a quarterly loss of $397.2 million on revenues just over half that amount. Wait a sec. $397 million loss in the quarter. And in 2022, Lucid CEO Peter Rawlinson received $379 million in compensation. And if you switch these two numbers, the 9 and the 7 around, it's exactly the same. Almost identical. Now, at the time I commented on this, seemed a little bit excessive for a guy who was, quote, leading a company toward bankruptcy, falling catastrophically short of their alleged targets from just a few years earlier in their low IQ investor trap presentation. And in fact, in that very same year, Mary Biasparra of Government Motors received total compensation of $34 million, which was about $34 million too much, to be fair. And Ford CEO Jim Farley, total compensation of $18 million in the same year. So, seemed a little bit excessive. And now, this motherfucker is, quote, stepping down and riding off into the sunset with many hundreds of millions of dollars in compensation for what? What results were produced? Whole Mars rubbing it in a little bit today, quoting a Business Insider trading article from 2021, peak insanity. Elon Musk's former chief engineer is obsessed with besting Tesla. Here's how Lucid could become the next electric car juggernaut. And then there was this hilarious comment from Pete Rawlinson a few years ago. He said, "It's not for me to criticize Tesla, but I'm an observer of these things, and I can say practically that there's only one car company that has production hell." Awkward. Lucid currently roughly 10% of their previously stated production goal for 2024. Yeah, that's right. 21. They forecast they'd produce and deliver roughly 10 times as many vehicles as they actually did. Wow. As we know, it turns out production is hard, and also staying in business is hard. Now, on this note, I want to remind you guys, Rivian, 2023 deliveries, 50,122. The following year, almost identical, 51,579, and 2025, Rivian expects somewhere in the order of 47,000 to 51,000. In other words, completely flat, if not declining deliveries for 3 years running for Rivian, who are doing much better than Lucid, but still probably screwed. The reason I bring that up is due to the current fake news narrative that Tesla sales are collapsing because Elon bad. No mention of other automotive manufacturers and their sales though. But before we watch this truly, historically embarrassing piece of propaganda from the fake news, just want to remind everybody that Tesla's recently performed a global refresh on their Model Y. And in order for Tesla to do that, they first needed to sell through all their existing inventory of the previous version of the Model Y and stop making them, because now they're going to make the new one. But there's no magic start immediately making the new Model Y at the same volume as the previous Model Y button. So that actually requires a bit of downtime, which means your volumes are going to fall dramatically while you're transitioning from previous Model Y and then selling through the remaining inventory, and then beginning to ramp up production and then begin deliveries of the new Model Y, which is very important context. You would expect that there's going to be a very temporary but quite pronounced drop-off in Tesla deliveries in each region as they transition from previous Model Y to new Model Y. But that may or may not fit the current narrative that Elon bad and Elon destroying Tesla. So let's see what the media has to say.
So what exactly is driving the slump in sales?
Well, this feels more like a Tesla-only story when you look at just this fall in EV sales for them, that they're suffering across Europe, down 45% in January. The wider EV market in Europe up 37%, so rivals are catching up and performing.
So I've got two things to say here. One, you notice how he says this seems like to be it's a Tesla-only story? Like maybe hypothetically, because Tesla's just done a massive refresh to their highest volume vehicle. No, that couldn't possibly be the reason. And so apparently this is a 45% fall in January. Is this between December and January or year over year? Not a great deal of context. Hopefully we'll see more soon.
Outperforming as well in some cases, doing better than Tesla. And you just have to think, how much more is this a sustained issue for Tesla going forward, given the...
Is this real life? Do they not know about the refreshed Y? Now, on screen now, we're looking at some data. What is this? Tesla's European slip, market share of regions, new car registrations. They have to be comparing to January 2024 with this supposed 45% slip because, where else is it coming from? You might notice, though, how extremely volatile even just the monthly deliveries are. Well, registrations, essentially the same thing, right? But this is what the fake news does all the time. Between March and April in 24, they would have reported Tesla deliveries and registrations collapsed to less than half the last month. Then from June to July, it's the same thing. July, it's over for Tesla. Vehicle registrations collapse, down 60% from the previous month. And then, of course, in October, catastrophic implosion in Tesla vehicle deliveries, right? Oh, God.
The fact that you have Elon Musk, who's been very forthright in his opinions, particularly weighing in on politics, particularly in Europe. We've just had the European elections, which Musk has been very focused on. But across the piece, when you look at the performance for Tesla in Europe, it's not just in small countries. A lot of countries where Tesla has been performing badly, including in Germany, in the UK, where it has been lagging, and Spain as well.
How much of the impact, Danny, can be attributed to Elon Musk's politics, and how much is being swayed by consumer tastes or even Tesla's own internal inputs?
So this is the part where the guy goes, well, actually, Tesla's recently refreshed the Model Y, which would account for any meaningful shift in delivery volumes at the moment. But will we hear that? This is the opportunity, Danny Lee. Show us you know what the fuck you are talking about.
Well, when you look at the kind of input Musk has been having into politics, there has been some polling done which suggests there is a strong dissatisfaction with Elon Musk's views on weighing into very much national politics, national elections in Europe, and then on top of that, when you see the backdrop of Tesla upgrading its product line and the impact of them trying to chase more sales at the back end of last year, that means it's short on inventory. It can't necessarily sell as many vehicles or doesn't have as many in stock to sell. So,
Thank fuck he actually mentioned it, not specifically the Model Y, but he's talking about the upgrade, right? Hello, why wasn't this leading the segment? Oh wait, I know why, because the fake news narrative is Elon bad, Elon opinions bad, Elon talking politics bad. Shut up, Elon. You would think if the fake news was being intellectually honest, this headline wouldn't exist. Tesla Europe sales fall 45%, but then no one's going to watch. If you just have a new thing saying Tesla's currently transitioning over to the upgraded and vastly superior Model Y, which is already the world's best-selling vehicle and has now become even better, well, no one would be interested in watching that, would they? I mean, look at this thing. It's the still frame here. The headline, with no context, important context, and then this, Musk's political interventions in Germany. By the way, I swear, pockets of Europe, especially Germany, like some next-level Stockholm syndrome, the number of people in Germany who actually trust the media, the legacy media, is astonishing. I mean this, by the way. It's got to be one of the most collectively retarded places on planet Earth right now. I speak to my German friends and like, bro, you have no idea. There are so many NPCs here. Almost everybody trusts the legacy media. I begin to wonder if there's any hope for Germany. I mean, we know what happened last time all the NPCs in Germany got propagandized, right? Right?
There is that issue there of a confluence of impacts, which means that sales have been falling. Again, the question is how much more that will impact into February as well, given that the back end of last year in 2024, Tesla sales did slip overall.
So let's recap today. Tesla FSD, out of nowhere, launches in China. Incredible capabilities like that. A big swinging dick demonstration of Tesla's incredibly generalized solution. Stark contrast to literally every other company trying to solve autonomy. This has massive implications if only we were to use our brains and think about what those implications are. E.g. Tesla massive scale at a low cost versus everyone else, extremely brittle, frail, and they won't scale massively fast. Therefore, Tesla's going to have an unassailable lead. Therefore, they're going to take the lion's share of the profits in autonomy globally. Tesla stock collapsing about 10% today. What's new? Lucid CEO essentially appears to have been fired. I mean, has transitioned into the guy who whispers into the ear of one of the people who happens to sit on Lucid's board after outrageous total compensation as CEO of a dumpster fire of a company likely to go bankrupt in the next few years and extremely unlikely to survive the decade. Rivian struggling severely to see any increases in their annual vehicle deliveries for 3 years in a row, which obviously must be Elon's fault for having political opinions. And the fake news attempting to paint a narrative that Elon Musk sharing his opinions is causing Tesla sales to collapse in Europe by 45%, and then briefly just gently touching on the fact that, well, they are maybe also slightly adjusting some of the products as well. But hey, it's mainly him getting involved politically. Wow. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 is awesome. I've been taking it daily now for more than 3 years. It's a great way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's packed full of vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus has prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens to improve gut health, regularity, and help your body handle stress. I'm always looking for an edge to help me feel and perform my best, which is why I haven't missed a day of AG1 for more than 3 years. Just try it and see how you feel. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. This is what viewers of the channel had to say after trying AG1. I feel like I have a lot more energy since I started on AG1. Just got my AG1 in the mail. Legit feeling the effects after day 3. 3 months ago, I started AG1 and have been enjoying the evenness of alertness and energy that lasts the day. I just started the wife on it too. Are you convinced yet? I mean, hey, it's worth trying, right? Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR, or I can keep going. This viewer, after about a month on AG1, definitely a lack of fatigue in the afternoon. Pleasant side effect is that my coffee intake has imploded and is almost down to 0. One more? Yeah, why not? I honestly feel younger and will be continuing to use AG1. This stuff really is crazy good. I didn't think it would be, but this stuff is awesome. It really is what everyone is saying. One more? Don't mind if I do. I've just received my 3rd month supply. I've drank it every day. I have so much energy throughout most of the day. I'm productive, started a new business, started socializing, refurbished a boat. It's no coincidence. Thank you for your persistence, your integrity, and your insights. Now look, these are not my words. These are not my testimonials. This is what you guys and girls are saying. Maybe it's 100% placebo effect. But even if that's the case, I think it's money well spent. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs.